Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Kameh, and it is the 20th of February 2017. Thank you very much for turning this video on and watching it. I hope you find it interesting. Now, in this country, Great Britain, United Kingdom, Great Britain, Northern Ireland, we have, it's all over the news at the moment, about council tax rises and business rate rises, extortionate business rate rises, while the big corporations don't get the big rises and so on. And you can see what this is about. It's about, again, sucking away all the energy, all the life force from the men and women of this country. As far as I can see, it's pretty clear. Business rates, I mean, that's Agenda 21, isn't it? That is about destroying the small independents, isn't it? So that the big corporations can take over. And the last thing they want is for men and women to live their own life in accord with the laws and customs of their nation, in accord with their sovereignty, in accord with their nation. That's what these internationalist corporations do not want you to do. The members of them do not want you to do. They don't want you to have individuality. And by individuality, I don't mean being as if you're just on your own in the world as a separate thing. You're an individual, as far as I'm concerned, lives within, you know, like I said, a country. It had this, in our country, our sovereign is the monarch. Of course, the woman who is the monarch has done some questionable behaviour, but the position, the queen, the title is still there, and the sovereignty is still held in that place. And of course, people are being sidelined into signing away their sovereignty off to in contracts with various authorities and so on, so-called authorities, and submitting themselves, getting themselves out of the true jurisdiction, which is common law in this country, and going elsewhere. We know that. I've talked about that before. But anyway, so business rates are going through the roof. Small businesses are going to be destroyed because they're going to be, I mean, the amounts they're going to have to pay, I made some notes on it somewhere, but you can look it up yourself. It's extraordinary what they're demanding from these people. And again, we have to talk about contract, don't we? What contract are they in? And there's a lot to think about when you're thinking about businesses, you know, because you've got staff. You might be in an international business, so, you know, you've got to think about the legal positioning of that, and then it might be difficult for you to unregister. But in many cases, I think, you know, I would look very seriously into unregistering yourselves as businesses. It's a problem, I think, also. Don't quote me on this. You've got to start looking all this up yourself. But I believe that if you have a business and you have you're renting the premises, you know, often in the contract there are stipulations you've got to pay council tax, which means going to a contract with the council and so on. Whereas if you bought it for your own absolute fee simple, you don't need to do that, do you? Why register? Why register? Look up the word register, see what it means. Why submit the forms? Why apply to these corporations that, as I've said, cannot possibly have any allegiance to your sovereign, because they are connected to corporations that have no interest whatsoever. None of them are sworn in, these members of these corporations. They're just like businesses who are all in big with this giant internationalist corporate soup, and they're nothing to do with your country, your sovereignty, and so on. So if you've got your shop, you buy it in absolute fee simple, it's yours. As far as I can see, you don't need to register it. You don't need to use your legal fiction. You don't need to talk in that way. And then you don't have to follow all their rules and regulations and so on. You live according to the common law. And you live in your way. Okay? Because that actually is the law in our country, when you've got your sovereignty right, your jurisdiction right, your allegiance right. But you've got to look into all this. You've got to start researching this. This is all over the internet if you dig deep enough. Anyway, what I'm saying is, business rates, I had a small business, like a shop or something, or a cafe, I would be looking into totally deregistering. I mean, it's like protection racket, isn't it? You pay us all this money, we might take your bins away, and if you don't, you're going to prison. Or you're going to have a massive fine, or we're going to seize all your property, or whatever you sign yourself up for in their jurisdiction. And So I would tell everybody, if I know anyone with a small business, I'm going to say, please look into it. Please look into unregistering yourself. Please look into living as a man and a woman as a subject in our country, of a sovereign man or woman in other countries, as a subject to the sovereign in our nation. I would say look that up. You don't need to put your name down, sign up these things. But of course, like I said, there are complications, aren't there, if you're an international business or... and by the way, people say, well, what about my staff? You know, they're on PAYE. Well, why register with the Inland Revenue? Why do that? Why register with the Inland Revenue? Why not just get people, working for themselves on contracts or whatever, so you don't have to do their tax or everything to do with it. You just give them the money. These are questions that need to be explored, ladies and gentlemen. And don't look at me like I'm a big expert on this. I am seeing that you don't need to contract, you don't need to register. It's clear to me, it makes practical sense. Have a look at the video on the page I put on my website, and it's called Vital Videos. I think it's 4 vital videos, because I'm going to add my one on it about allegiance. And the thing is, what it does, if you just watch all those videos, you know, they're not perfect videos, and you've never heard anything about the allegiance before, you never heard anything about the straw man, you never heard anything about contracts and the effect of them, you never heard anything about all this stuff, it's going to set you off on a journey with an end, and that end is you as a man or a woman living as a sovereign man or woman, you know, in wherever you are, someone who has authority over their own life, and who is in this country is under the common law, with allegiance to the sovereign, of course. And the sovereign in this country is the embodiment of the collective sovereign of the subjects in this country, Great Britain, Northern Ireland. Anyway, so I thought I'd mention that. People might say, well, what about you know, because they're pushing it, aren't they? They're saying, oh, we need to raise council tax because of all the social care and all the old people. Well, where's all this money gone? Where is all this money going that they get from people? You don't need to look too far. Start researching into that. Where does the council tax money? It goes to pensions. It goes to offshore accounts. It doesn't go to your local area. It goes off to the centre government, who they disperse it all around the country. It goes to international programmes like UN Agenda 21. You know, that's just where your local money's going. What's the point in funding that? That's where it's going. That's why we haven't got any money for the older people. But the thing is, if everybody started getting their sovereignty and allegiance sorted out, and they realise there's no laws that you have to pay tax, there's legislation of what to do with their policies and so on, but there's no law, you know, unless you contract, then you're in the contract. And if you don't want to pay all of this, then of course, and you're one of those who's concerned about older people, then you can go and help them yourself. Why not? Why not start up a little charity in your village or something, or in your town? You know, go and see them yourself. So they talk about that, but of course they're not spending, you know, the waste that they do and all these international programs and all these NGOs and everything else that they waste money on. That's where the money's going. They've got plenty of money, and then there's this international aid and so on. It's all wasted. And then there's massive salaries of CEOs of councils and so on, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds. I've seen, you know, massive handshakes, you know, the golden handshake. I remember in Kent there was this woman who was there, I think, only a couple of years, and she got given, you know, £600,000 golden handshake. Off you go. You know, this is where all the money is going, and we've got to start looking at where that money is going. Got to start thinking about the contracts. We've got to start looking and seeing what is going on around us and where our money is going. What we're doing with ourselves, signing things. Who are we as men or women? What is our country? Where is the sovereignty in our country? Where is the allegiance? You know, all these things people have got to start asking about. Not who's going to vote Labour or Liberal or UKIP or whatever. These things are all in the corporate world. And the corporate world is about destroying everything. Ultimately, it's about taking over everybody. So we need to set that aside, and we need to look at our country, not the corporation that it is. And how we start from there. It takes a lot of research and courage, of course, and Like I said in the other video, I think, you know, your connection with God through Christ, so at least you can begin to work on maintaining some sort of integrity. You know, when you don't have integrity, you're easily undermined, aren't you? What else have I written here in my notes? So yeah, look, time to deregister. If I had a business, I'd deregister, learn about contract. Yeah, learn about contract law. Look into it. Look what it means. Look at the contract in the Bible. Consider Christ with Satan, who was trying to get him into a contract. Hey, you know, you can have all this lovely property and land and whatever, and, you know, it's going to be great. You'll love that. No, I don't want that. I'm not contracting with you. I've got far more important things to do. Now, underneath this video, I'm going to do a link to a page on my website, which is called, have I just said this? I might have done, but anyway, I'll say it again. 4 vital videos. Watch them all. I did say that just then, but that doesn't matter, does it? Yeah. Look up. Oh yeah, look up the words. I think I've said this as well. Sorry to repeat myself, but this is one of those days when I do. Look up the word register. Go to Black's Law Dictionary. You know, an older version of it. Look up, what does register mean? Look it up in law books. What does apply mean? What does submit mean? What does register mean? What does it mean to you if you register anything? So 4 videos are going on that. Look below this video on YouTube, and there's going to be a link. Okay, one of them's going to be a link to my page on my website, you know, or the website Common Law Nations Alliance, and the other is going to be a link to an article actually. You know, Jesus was not in, it's a great article because it shows very clearly that Jesus was not in favour of taxes, and it goes to that when he, you know, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, you know, that, and everybody says, oh, well, that means you've got to be taxed. No, read that article, okay? Of course, the true Jesus Christ would have nothing to do with taxes to Rome, right? He was an Israelite. Okay, true Israelite, ladies and gentlemen. So have a look at that. Please read that article and start thinking, you know, if you know anything about Christ, start reading that article. If you know anything about Christ, and then read about the truth about Romans 13. It's not that you've got to submit to a criminal corporate treason government. It's submit to the true authority. In this country, the true authority is the monarch. That's where the sovereignty is, in Parliament, with the monarch as your sovereign. And it goes through all the way down to you. True authority, ultimate authority, is God through Christ in this country as a common law nation. Because the Queen, the woman, Elizabeth, allegedly, well, she did say the words, she said that she agreed to uphold the laws and customs, you know, the common law of this country in accord with Gospels. The law in this country is rooted in the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. That's the root of the common law. Anyway, so as I've written here on my notes, it is time, 1, to get into your true sovereignty. Yes, it is. Understand what sovereignty means. Go and look that up. That's another word that's extremely important to look up. Sovereignty, allegiance, authority. Okay? Look these words up and start recognizing them and start seeing how these words are just waved in front of you and you ignore them. And yet they're the most important words we could get. If you have any interest whatsoever in reading current affairs, these things that I'm telling you are essential. Okay, so stop signing away your freedom. Yeah, stop signing contracts. It's very easy. I just want to sign the contract here, sign it there. You don't read the terms. You know, in my other video, I said I'm going to be coming off Facebook and Twitter. I don't want anything to do with those corporations anymore. Go to my websites instead if you want to find out what I've got to say. And so on. And what else have I written here? To understand who your allegiance is to and to whom your government councils give their allegiance. Remembering, of course, that no man can serve 2 masters. And it's worth noting, isn't it, that many people, many men, women in the councils, in the police, in all these organisations are Freemasons. And it's part of the Freemasons' position to say, ignore, but basically do what the master of the lodge tells you to do. You know, follow that plan. Freemasonry is all about serving two masters. And not very pleasant one of them, not very good at all. And of course you've got them in authority, or not in authority, in these positions that you think are authority. They're serving two masters. They have no true allegiance to your sovereign. So many of them haven't even sworn an oath. Of course, many of them break their oaths, or just, you go into courts and there's a judge there, and you've got to get them to be into the correct jurisdiction. Otherwise, you're just going to go down the road of the corporate road. It's essential, ladies and gentlemen. This is a fantastic turning point in history. So much information out there now for you to begin to gather your life into your own hands, your own control. And it's our intention at Common All Nations Alliance to help provide information, help point you in the right direction, so you can make your own decisions, so you can research your stuff, okay, and stand on your own 2 feet. And I can assure you, as I was talking to somebody just recently, he said that when you begin to find these things about where you're signing yourself away, these sort of guy ropes, these hooks that are in you. Do you remember that film? What was it called? Hellraiser. And he had all hooks in him. It's rather like the contracts, isn't it? And he said, when you begin to recognise that, and you begin to realise that you don't have to have these hooks in you, you can unhook yourself. He said that sense of freedom, that sense of dignity, that sense of integrity that begins to flow through you. And then you connect it with God. You connect it, you make your strengthen your relationship with God through Christ. How wonderful is that? That really begins to come alive as well when you start to live as we are meant to live on this earth, ladies and gentlemen. And he said it's wonderful. It's exhilarating. Far more exhilarating than watching some film on television about people getting blown up. It's exhilarating. You begin to see nature around you. You begin to see, as it says in that psalm, doesn't it? Psalm, is it 124? It's look at the sun, the moon, everything all around you. It's almost like the temple of God is all around us. And it all really begins to come alive. You begin to come alive. It's wonderful stuff. Anyway, there we go. I'm about to do another video now on the Bible of all things, on the Aeon. So hopefully you watch that. Don't forget to share these videos as well. Please do share them if you've got half a chance, or just tell your friends. Even better, tell your friends, but verbally. That's a good way of doing it, isn't it? Of sharing this stuff. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I shall speak to you soon.